we're back here. See if that flipping of the camera it doesn't look any different on the screen. Because my concern too is that I can't see if it's still recording or not. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we touched on social media just a little bit, but corporate social responsibility, you're spending energy, time, money, trying to be a good corporate citizen. I mean, you'd like to tell people about it, but there isn't really a great platform to do that. It's not like profit and losses. You can just easily report, well, here's what we did, this is the money we made, etc. So social media becomes a one way for you to get the word out that you're making these sort of efforts to, again, not that you're making the efforts exclusively to get interest from the consumer, but you're still wanting to be a business, and so if you think the consumers will like to hear about that, you want to get it out there. So not only social media is an option, but they're also doing corporate audits, where the corporation goes through and audits all of their corporate social responsibilities activities, and they'll report those in their like annual statements or quarterly statements. So not only are we sending out, hey, here's our profit and losses, we're also sending out maybe where our carbon footprint is, or the numbers of tons of recycling stuff we've done, the energy we've saved, whatever initiatives that they're working on, they'll put inside those audits.
CSR meetings here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Quarterly.
And what are some of the things you guys are covering?
Things like that.
Recycling,
What went where.
energy, waste.
Yeah,
so it's good. I'm gonna give you a slide on social auditing. Okay, now we're just a little further behind here, so. Insider trading, you guys know what that is? Where you're buying stocks on the public stock exchange market based on tips or insider information that no one else has. It's illegal. So that's what Martha Stewart went to jail for. You guys remember Martha Stewart? That's what she went to jail for. She has, the way they caught her was she saw an answering machine. The guy left all these details on her answering machine, and someone got the answering machine. And that's how they busted her.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too, because she didn't make like millions. She just made a little bit of money, or didn't lose some money, but it was illegal, and they busted her and she went to jail. So they've tightened those up. We talked about some of the responsibilities to employees. We didn't talk about this kind of deviant workplace behavior, but if we're not taking care of employees, if they're asked to work in, say, an unsafe environment, or they're being put in unethical situations, you know, humans have a way of responding with that. And so they'll give you some examples here, but you know, if we don't have a strong culture of ethics and all in it together sort of mentality, now you start blaming others, you start slacking off a little bit, you start showing up late, you start calling in sick, you tell your coworkers you're going to do something and you don't do it. You know, all those sort of things are how it starts to hurt productivity. We touched on some of these through the environment. Not all environmental efforts increase your costs. You know, sometimes you can actually recycle and do things to save money, but sometimes there is a cost associated with doing the right thing. And so businesses, just like the cost of having a strong ethics culture, you have to decide, is that worth my expense? Here's the social auditing, so I thought they skipped that one. So it's just a systematic evaluation, and it can be across lots of different things. Again, environment is kind of the one that's probably on the forefront of everyone's mind right now, but corporate social responsibility goes into a lot of other areas as well, again, through philanthropy and other areas. But they kind of give you these watchdogs, whatever, but they're people who are interested in you doing that. And those are the ones that are going to be watching to see whether you do it really well, or whether you don't do it at all, or whether you do it poorly, or whatever. So the audit is trying to show some of these interested parties where you're at with regards to your programs. And so obviously if an investor is looking to make an investment into a new business, and that investor has some interest in, not just making money, but making money the right way, or a way that is beneficial to the entire community, then he's gonna wanna see your social audit to decide whether or not he invests in your company or somebody else's. Environmentalists, you know, union officials have less in this role, but in today's day and age, what they did, 20 years ago, but still have an interest in. Obviously, customers we talked about. Some customers, that's a key point to deciding who they buy from amongst the competitors, is what is their commitment to either the environment or social causes or whatever. So what are some things that, if we were doing a social audit, that we might be tracking? So we've got our business, we're making our tables, and we want to be able to kind of document the social programs that we're doing. What are some of those that we might be doing, and how will we document those?
Like what you're doing with all the waste.
Okay, so a reduction in waste, either less waste, or doing something with it, repurposing our waste, or, putting our waste in a different location than we used to put it. What else?
How much energy you're using to make it.
Okay, so a reduction in our energy usage, maybe a reduction in the distance we're traveling to ship it, or the methodology that we're using, so we have less carbon emissions in the process of getting our product to our customer. Okay, what else? Thinking outside of the environment, what other initiatives might we have going on?
I guess more of like, ergonomics.
Okay.
Like the internal, like, maybe seeing if it's not environmental, but like work safety.
Yeah, so I love that, you got safety going on in there, but you also have productivity, right? So I can get this done with less energy, because we're working smarter, not harder. Yeah, that's really good.
Employee retention.
Okay, so I'm showing that because we're doing these things, I'm actually retaining my employees better. How about the Xerox example? If we're given that kind of paid leave, what would we be trying to track there?
Talent,
I mean,
like employee talent, like other employees, like headhunting almost, but
Oh.
attraction.
oh, I see, you might use that as a recruiting tool, I'm talking, yeah, but we're, inside our social audit, we're paying these people to go out in the marketplace. Other than just saying, hey, we're doing that, how will we document back to these investors or customers that are interested in knowing what our social programs are? We send out 50 people, and we just say good luck, we don't ask them to report back, we don't do anything.
Track like what kind of benefits they're actually giving to the company, what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah, so we could track not only, what the overarching mission and role they're playing in this organization they're now at for a year, but we could easily just track the number of hours they're put in, right? I mean, wouldn't it be cool for you, in a social audit, for you to be able to read, and you're like, oh, in 2017, they did, 50 hours of, 50 man hours at 7 different organizations, and in 2018, they did 150 man hours at 19 organizations, and 2019, they did, you know what I mean? You could track just the number of sheer hours and effort that's being done in the community. Okay. So international ethics is kind of the last part they want us to cover here. The challenge with international ethics is, well, first of all, what drives our ethical framework? What are the ingredients? We talked about it first when we first started this whole chapter. I want to go back and bring that back up. How do we determine our ethics?
Our society,
Okay, so the society we live in, or culture we live in. What else?
I guess more or less the company you work for.
Okay, so the company's expectations, the policies, the laws. What else? Still real bit in your gut. How do you know what's right or wrong? Your values, and where do those values come from usually?
Maybe they're.
Who teaches you your values?
parents,
Your parents. Your parents, your family,
Higher rates.
maybe your, if you're involved in a religion, maybe your religion has some shaping of that. But real quickly, to relist those, the family you were raised by, the values that they were committed to, the society you lived in, the laws that they have, the societal norms, the expectations of the people you're walking around with in your world, in your community, those all drive your ethics, right? Those are gonna be different, all those are gonna be different in the US than they are in Japan, than they are in China. So the first starting spot with international ethics is to realize, it's harder, it's more complex, it's a different set of ethics. Yeah, different culture, different everything, which then drives different ethical decisions. And so the challenge is, as an organization, you're faced with, okay, do I apply, so let's say we're making our tables and now we've expanded and we're gonna be in Malaysia making some tables. Okay? And Malaysia has their own normal society rules, the way they raise their kids, all that stuff is in Malaysia. So when we hire employees over there, do we say, hey, look, we need to create a nice Malaysian culture of ethics? Okay? Or do we say, no, we need to take our US-based ethics and drop it in Malaysia and make our Malaysian people conform to our US ethics?
That's what they feel like we
It'd
do.
be more complicated.
Okay? So, I'm getting the vibe that most of you would say, let's work on making a strong Malaysian-based ethical business.
I say try and incorporate it, because more or less you have people that are going to be going with you from the US that aren't.
Yeah, you might have one or two over there,
More
yeah.
susceptible
Susceptible,
to change
yeah.
to the actual values that they take in their culture, so I guess the diversity in the company.
So you're saying maybe kind of blend them a little bit, like the best of both worlds, sort of thing.
I mean, like as a business, wouldn't their ethics kind of have to line up a little bit with yours? Like if you're completely different and I don't agree with anything you're doing over there, I'm not gonna drop my business over here to yours.
Great, so let's make sure we select a place that's not completely apples to oranges. There's some similarities as much as possible. Good, what other thoughts?
It's gonna cost you money.
To which way?
Implement the ethics.
Okay, so regardless of which way we go,
Yeah.
we need to have, in our budget, not just the ability to buy the building and hire the employees, but we need to understand that we need to budget in the efforts to get this ethical culture put in place. So regardless of which way you go, there's challenges on both ways, right? So if we're trying to make the Malaysian company conform to our US-based ethics, they might fight us, it may be tough, maybe a slow road to get there because it doesn't feel natural to them.
Take it
You might
as a
alienate
joke.
employees there. What's that?
They might even take it as a joke,
Yeah.
our ethics.
So, so it's gonna have its challenges. But if you also just say, hey, let's go with the ethics that are the culture that we're in, where our building is at, but that culture puts their 10-year-olds to work because that's just how they've always done it. And they're like, why can't we put our 10-year-olds to work in the factory? And you're going, well, we don't really do that here in the US. But we're not in the US, we're in Malaysia. Right, so now you start getting torn between, what is my customer, who's basically in the US, gonna think when they find out I've got 10-year-olds working in the Malaysian factory? But the Malaysians want their 10-year-old to work in the factory because they want that money, and they're completely used to it. Their 10-year-old's gonna work down the road at the farm or here, so what do I care? Right, you see the challenge you get into. So that's what makes international ethics more difficult. Again, go along the same lines with pollution. This all then connects to international trade, but the idea of, well, we can just dump our sewer anywhere we want in Malaysia or wherever. And we're saying, no, man, you gotta clean this stuff up, and you gotta put it in the right spot. All that's costing money in the US. Well, we can go to Malaysia and not have to do that, save a bunch of money. Is that ethical? It's legal. Is it ethical? Well, I don't know. Right? And so then you have this whole tug of war. And so as soon as people go international, those are some of the challenges that start to creep up. What are some of the things that political bodies are trying to do is try to kind of come up with international rules, but can you imagine how difficult that'd be? Right, so it'd be hard enough just to get an agreement between Malaysia and the US, but how about 70 countries? Get them all to agree that they're gonna do this with their toxic waste. And 50 of them are gonna go, yeah, I'll do it, 20 of them are going, I ain't never doing that. And now the 20 who don't do it have a competitive advantage in the marketplace, because they can just dump their toxic waste on the ground. Right, so it's really hard to get all this stuff done, and so that's one of the challenges that we face. Just make sure we got anything else here. Oh yeah, I wanted to go, we kind of already touched on this, but it's it's page 112 in the book, but it's just this going by a different standard. Let's kind of look through here and make sure oh yeah, it's the story about Joe. He's getting a housing allowance, okay? So let's just do this little ethical decision making. I don't know if you guys read it or not, but Joe is, he is from, what country is it? South American, yeah, so he's just, you don't get the exact country, just from South America. And he was born there, raised there, but then left and got his engineering degree in the US, went to work for a US company. The US company grew and eventually had a position for him in South America. So they sent him back to South America, his home country. Now, like, part of his family had already come to the US, but part of it was still in South America. And the organization says, hey, look, you're a leader for us. We need you to kind of keep up a certain image in the community. So we're gonna pay for like this really nice house and like servants in your house. So you're in a safe area and everything's good. And then we're gonna give you the money for that. And Joe's like, okay. So Joe goes to South America and they're giving him the money. And he's sending in receipts saying he's spending the money on the house and spending the money on the servants, and he wasn't. Okay? So he's now living in this slum area so that he can then take that money and help his family out with it. And the organization is angry, of course. Hey, we had an agreement here, you're supposed to do this. And he's saying, okay, so what, but you need to think about it from my side. He said, you're asking me to live in this fancy house with servants while my family is starving right across the train tracks from me. I can't do that. That's unreasonable if you even expect me to do that. So I tried to kind of go down the middle of the path here and let you think I was being safe and okay, but still help my family. So ethically, I want us to think about where you fall out in that discussion. You lean more towards the business side, the organization side. Hey, set these clear expectations. Do you lean more towards the employee side or somewhere in the middle?
And it's a little bit both. But there was no like discussion beforehand to try to negotiate a better way. But I'm sure maybe if he would have had that discussion, they might have met somewhere a little closer to the middle and helped his family out and helped
Yeah,
him
find a
out.
true win-win-win.
But he
Yeah.
just didn't wanna risk that, so he just went straight for the,
Yeah,
I'll do it my way.
made his own kind of executive decision. What are other thoughts?
I agree, I think he probably would've been better off at least communicating it from the beginning, maybe come to terms or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, if I had to think realistically, if I was probably him, I would probably assess my family too.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you guys, as I was reading the whole thing, I'm like, man, that's a violation of company policy, like you can't do that. But then when you put yourself in his shoes, like, really, I'm right in the same town, living with servants and all this money, and my family is starving. Cause they make the point in the book, like, it's not just like they're just not doing real well, like it's poverty, serious poverty, where, they like are starving to death. That'd be tough, But at the same time, I can see the organization side is not that much different than me saying, hey, here's a credit card that you can use for dinner. And you're buying everybody dinner. I used it for dinner. But I'm buying, here's money to use for your house, and you aren't using it for your house. I can see that side too. All right, great. So we're gonna watch the video. There's a video case study, and then we're gonna do our discussion board. Hopefully that's still running. I'm gonna go shut it off though, because The Monday class can do their video from home, so I'm gonna shut this off. Without tripping on the wires, hopefully. We're still recording, so that's good.